Well, if this is your first time watching, I want to say welcome. And if you're a repeat offender, I say thank you and welcome back. So what we have here is my bench power supply. And I've got the voltmeter on the workbench, which has been there now for almost a decade. And my my Fluke 73 hooked up directly to it. And we're sitting at 14.5 volts. That's going to come in handy here in a minute. We're using RG316 coax with a 3-foot jumper to our line section. This is our pickup for our spectrum analyzer. It is a Coaxial Dynamics 20 dB down attenuator, directional attenuator pickup. We have a 5-watt slug in reverse, back from the Bird 10,000 watt dummy load, 100-watt slug in average, and a 100-watt slug in PEP in the 1X position. Over here, we have our Siglant spectrum analyzer. It's set at 0. This is 0 hertz, and then it's at 150.7877753 megahertz over here. Okay. And then we have our Siglant oscilloscope. This is also driven off that same sampler. All going to the Bird dummy load. Now on the front of the spectrum analyzer, you can't see it, but there's an HP 18 dB attenuator, knockdown attenuator right here. So we're sitting behind 30 something dBs worth of attenuation. 38 something dBs 38 dBs worth of attenuation before it even makes it to the spectrum analyzer. And that's to help me keep from frying it when I'm testing it with a bigger amp. Okay, so for our monitoring radio, we're going to go over here. Turn this on. Okay, channel 20. And we're going to run the volume down on that for a minute. That's what we're going to use as our monitoring radio. Its pickup. Let's go down here and grab our IC 7300 coax cable. Its pickup. Oh, come on. It's the 490. Here we go, 7300. Its pickup cable is just going to be some bare coax that we shoot on the bench here. So this is our pickup for our ICOM 7300 when we go to listen to it and see what it looks like on a waterfall display. People get this mixed up. This is a spectrum analyzer. This is a waterfall. Two completely different units for measurement, but do kind of the same thing. So instead of there being the variable of my voice being involved, hello, audio, hello. Instead of doing a tuned input, which is not natural, and what I mean by that is using my signal generator up here, that little guy, and then running that directly into the jack of the radio, we're going to use our telephone here, and we're going to just do, let's see, where is it? Our frequency generator. Okay, I'm going to do that in sine wave. The reason that we're going to go about doing it this route is so we get more of a natural response. So we're going to have the microphone that we're going to use on the workbench. Now I've already got one of these big power wires like this run up here on the workbench. It's this radio, or the one that they built for me, is going to replace that radio there. And the reason all the controls are on the right-hand side of the radio is because I've got room over here for the controls. I don't want to have another Stryker 955 on the workbench. Okay. Now, what we're talking about here today, and what we're discussing, I do believe is this radio. I received 2 of them. One was built for me specifically for the workbench, and the other one was specifically built for a customer and his specific needs. There is an insane amount of money between these 2 boxes. These are both derail specials. That means the hottest finals, the best audio circuit, the best, the best, the best, the best, the best, the best, the best. He is arguably, without a doubt, the hottest thing in radio technicians right now, period. The waiting list for him is long, but it is very distinguished. And I believe that one's my customer radio, but we'll find out as soon as we open them up. It's very important that you feed the radio not with the stock power cable. The power cable that comes in the box with the radio from Stryker, and I'm not just saying just this Stryker because it's been heavily modified, but I'm talking all Stryker radios. The ones that come from the factory are garbage. Believe me, there's been lots of conversations with the guy that runs Stryker about this. There for a little while they were showing up with like 14 gauge wire hanging out of the back of them. All right. This is my customer radio. I got them backwards. Okay. It says so right here, customer radio. Sarah's got 3 or 4 knobs on it. Alrighty. This this whole little adventure was, how do I put this? I wanted to have part in a project that he was doing over there. He built himself an incredibly large amplifier, and he's only in phase 1 of it. He's basically on the low setting. It's a 3-tube job. I can't discuss it much. But the Big Daddy, I sold him the tube, and I sold him the socket and some of the parts to make the amp go. The big tube that he's yet to bring online, I wanted to have part of that because I honestly believe that's going to be one of the largest amplifiers man has ever brought to 11 meters. I couldn't help myself. I had to be involved in that. Had to be involved in that. Peak, average. So I built that big rectifier board. I don't know if you guys remember that from about 5-6 months ago. And he goes, well, what do you want? I said, nothing. He goes, no, I don't work like that. So, okay, cool. We'll figure it out. And this is what he came up with as a compromise. This is the stock power wire. We don't use these. Garbage. This is your programming cable. This is your microphone. Your stock Stryker will not work on 11 meters, and it has to be slightly modified. There's lots and lots of YouTube videos by lots and lots of radio techs out there showing you how to modify these things to make them work. That's the bench radio. Okay. This is what he wanted to do. Me personally, I'm excited about this. I'm grateful for it. In the same breath, it's just one more thing. You know what I mean? Do not expect the standard Stryker to do half the things that this radio does or have a third of the performance that this radio's got. This has been heavily, heavily modified. I'm gonna put D-Rail's phone number right here probably. Okay, don't call me looking to order one of these. I'm not that guy. You're gonna call Wolfman CB Shop and talk to D-Win or D-Rail, and them guys are the men that build these things. So you got to get yourself a heavy duty power cable because this thing is going to pull a lot of shmoo. Plugged it in, no smoke came out. Turned on and lit up. So let's go ahead and we'll hook up the 316 here. Oh, the internal speaker still works. That's so cute. We'll plug in our mic. Now the way I had him set this up is how a smart operator is. I get so tired, I watch every once in a while, I get somebody that sends me a YouTube video about some technician ragging on another technician. And it usually comes down to mic gain control, okay? If you are a smart radio technician, you're gonna adjust the mic so when it's straight up and down, roughly, you're gonna have about 100% modulation over here on the oscilloscope, okay? Every YouTube Rambo technician does the same thing, except for a few, most. Oh my God, it's so distorted, it's so distorted. Look, it's pure distortion, the radio's crap, the whole radio's garbage, you gotta throw it in the trash. Well, all you gotta do is turn the mic gain to half. There's such a wide variance and tolerance with microphones that you have to account for that, okay? Ranger mic, pretty decent flat level response microphone. It is a noise canceller, so a lot of people don't care for them, whatnot. I don't care. This radio, it's like I told him, this radio is never gonna go on the air. Never, not once, not 1 minute, never, ever gonna go on the air. It's not gonna get plugged into my station. It's for right here on this workbench. And this is the, I don't wanna say justification video, or this is the reference video. So when people go, well, why does the Stryker do that? You can come back, you can watch this video. The microphone and how I sound with this radio means nothing to me. But microphones all have, as we all know, their very own distinct sound. Well, they also have different responses as far as when you go audio, how much input signal they put into the radio, okay? That's why you have to have this variable. So yes, you can turn the radio all the way up and make it dirty, or you can adjust your mic gain knob and back it up till you're 100%. I personally feel that this is a good thing. There's a lot of CB radio Rambo technicians out there that think that 100%, you gotta have this all the way over here at the right. And you gotta use their microphone that they set up with that radio, and that. I personally believe that you radio CB operators are smart. And you have enough brain power to understand that you gotta turn the mic gain down, and running it at full choach most of the time is probably not the best way to do it. So your average CB shop, they're gonna set it up so when the mic gain's straight up and down, you're gonna be roughly somewhere around the area of 100%. Of course, if you have a really hot mic, you're running an echo box or some other crap into your radio, you might have to run it back here at quarter. It's all a preference thing. It's all a preference thing. So we're gonna turn the peak up, we're gonna turn the average all the way up, we're going to turn our power all the way down, and 1 watt. All right, let's turn our 5 watt slug around. Ready? Hello. Half a watt. So at 14 volts, I've been meaning to fix that, and what it is down inside of here, you pull this coupler out, the little finger in here isn't making very good contact with the element. Okay, still got functionality. This is a 100 watt average, that's a 100 watt slug and peak. We're at 14 volts, 14.5. Hello. Peaks in the corner, average is 40. Good Lord. That's not impressive to me. This is what's impressive to me, and this is the holy grail that most radio technicians are in the hunt for. Even with 38 dBs worth of attenuation, that's our carrier. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello. That's freaking awesome. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, so let's come over here and let's take a look at our oscilloscope. Let me kill off this channel. So, that's our base carrier. Wow, that's impressive. So now we're flat topping. Now what I was doing is I'm over here and I'm playing with the mic gain adjustment on the front of the radio. Look at where it's at. It's almost straight up and down. So now let's take a look at what frequency we're on. We're on 26.9 something or other. Let's go on up here to channel 22. Hello. Man, that is crazy how much this thing swings. So now we're on channel 22 and we're going to match up with our monitoring radio. But let's play with our power level settings here just for a minute. Let me zoom on in here for a second. Now this radio has variable bird and variable peak. We're going to turn our peak kit up to 2 times. So now full deflection on this meter is 200 watts, okay? Our 100 watt mark is right here between the 30 and the 40. So we're peaking at about 120, about 130, almost 140 watts. Down comes our peak, and I'm not adjusting my carrier level. I'm adjusting the peak knob. Turn this all the way back up. Now watch, I'm going to turn our bird level down. So now we're looking at this meter here. Please note, our peak numbers have stayed relatively the same. So our average numbers, our bird numbers, went from 40 to 20, and we lost maybe 3 or 4 watts of peak power. Isn't that neat? I think that's really some cool tech, me personally. Now let me repeat that test again, but do it where you guys can see what I'm doing with the needles, or with the meters. So I'm going to move that there. I'm just adjusting these knobs. I'm not touching this knob here at all. Up comes our average. See that? Now we can dial in our peak power if we wanted to. And then from there we can dial down our average power if we want to, all the way down to 4 watts. And that's fully saturated. That is some slick tech. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. So let's go ahead and let's play with that over here on the oscilloscope and spectrum analyzer and show you the difference of what it looks like with peak and average together. Let me slide the radio over here so I don't block your guys' view. First we're dialing up our average numbers, or our peak numbers. Isn't that amazing? So right now we're turning our average numbers up and down, but look, Only seen about a half a box worth of growth in our modulation. So that means the modulation's linear. That's freaking slick. That's slick. So if a guy wanted, instead of having all 15 of these radios sitting up here like what I've got, and all these different bird meters, if a guy got really good at running these and he wasn't having to do YouTube videos where he's showing all the different styles of radio for different levels of drive power as a visual demonstration, you could have one radio. And you could dial the radio to anything you need. Think about that for a minute. This one 955 can do the same amount of power as this radio, this radio, this radio, this radio, and that radio. Well, not as much as that radio. Better average numbers in this radio though, but not the same amount of peak. So I could eliminate that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one up there, all with one radio. Now my little brain doesn't work like that. And I know my YouTube subscribers, and I know my population base that I'm trying to appeal to, it's easier for them to follow along on that level. I'm going to switch radios. So if I'm on a Cobra 29, your brain automatically fills in the background information for you. Oh, he's on a Cobra 29, that means 30, 40 watts. Oh, he's on a 955 or 2950. I have my 2950 set up for about 25-ish, 25, maybe 28 watts peak power. But to average 2950, you know, that's a 30, 40 watt radio. Oh, a 955, everybody automatically fills in the spot. Oh, it's a 100 watt radio. 490, oh, that's a 150 to 200 watt radio. See what I'm saying? Your brain auto-fills that in as I'm going through the YouTube video. So it's going to be very interesting to see how I incorporate this radio into the mix. Enough with the tone generator, that's giving me a headache. The spectral purity of this thing, I mean, is stupid crazy clean. I mean, here's our noise floor, and we're looking 40 dBm down below zero, so we're not hiding anything. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello, hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello. Let's turn our carrier level up a little bit. It's 1 watt, 2 watts, 3 watts, 4 watts, 5 watts, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I told him to set the top at about 10. And he's right at about, no, 14, 13, 14, 14 watts. Let's look over here. Let's look at where the knob placement's at. So now let's look over here. 13, 14 watts. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. So I can maintain all my peak power and turn my average down. And that comes in real handy when you're a technician, by the way. So if you've ever noticed, I'll do these videos from time to time where I'll use the 2950, and then I'll be like, okay, let's go see how many average watts we can make this thing do. For a long time, and we're talking decades, when I first came out, everybody's like, well, you know, your amps look really pretty, but you know, you're just not making the average power of so and so. And I used to not respond to that in any way, because the statement in itself, was so based off of a bad level of knowledge. Your average power is how much audio is injected in the radio for the AM carrier set group, okay? So your average number is a variable depending on what technology you've got inside your radio for injection into the audio circuit. It is what it is. So people would say that to me and be like, okay. I didn't know how to respond to them other than I kind of wanted to just slap them a little bit. But you don't want to make people feel bad, and you don't want to make people feel stupid at any point. So I would choose not to say anything instead of something, if that makes any sense. So, like my 2950, this radio here has had nothing done to it. The reason I like using it is because it's a dual final radio, and I went inside and I turned the finals down, the gate voltages on the finals, and modified the driver for the finals so that the finals are only putting out about maybe a quarter of their output potential. And when you do that, you make the finals in the radio almost completely ruggedized. They can put up with a much higher output aspect ratio. So the guy that's down here on the workbench keying a radio into an amplifier that's got an SWR that's infinite, I'll have to rip this apart every 6 months or once a week and change the finals out. You make the rear end of the radio a lot more tolerant to abuse by having your radio set up like this. This is a specific workbench radio that does 20-25 watts. Okay? It's had nothing done to the audio circuit in it. Bone stock. But this radio, on the other hand, this is also a derail special, has had a ton of work done to the audio circuit. That radio right there probably weighs 12 pounds because of all the copper and the heat sink and shit that's in it. This style of radio from derail is what's winning all of the shootouts right now. My guy, Motown, who's running around the country beating everybody up in the DC world, is running one of these. Now, I'm not saying that derail's the only one that knows how to set a radio up like this, but I'm just saying that's what everybody's using, and that's what my guys are using. This radio here will make any amplifier have massive average numbers. And I've shown it in video and video after video. I take this radio, run it into any amps train that I want on the workbench, and let's say a 16 pill, 4,000 watts. 4,000 watts peak power. This radio, a 4,000 watts peak power and probably about 11 or 1,200 bird. This radio, on the other hand, 4,000 watts peak power, 2,800 bird. Now, where it really shows up to us on the workbench, when we're looking at it and we're setting it up, is right down here on this meter. Not here, here on the amperage side. It is amazing. 2950, we'll say 16 pill once again for a reference, making 4,000 peak watts, the same amount of watts in peak power, peak envelopes, a real measurement, believe it or not, look it up. 4,000 peak envelope watts power, right? And we'll say we're pulling 380 amps. I hook up the derail Cobra 29, all of a sudden this meter is reading 490 to 500 amps. Same amp, same exact train of everything in the circuit. The difference is the audio injection in the Cobra 29 is so different and the circuit's been so heavily modified. You're getting that much more audio into the carrier, and the amp is working really, really, really hard to support that. Well, this radio allows us to have the best of both worlds. I can turn my average numbers down and I can turn my peak numbers down with one radio and make it work the same as a Cobra 29 or a full up hot rod monsterized 955. This thing is amazing. You want the full lowdown on all the different things this radio can do? Go look at Derail's YouTube channel. He's got a video of this up. It's had 1,000 or something views. It's an amazing piece of equipment, this radio. And I'm really excited to be able to get it here, and I'm really excited to be able to put it in circuit and start playing with it. Gentlemen, this is the new Bench 955, and I am excited. On that note, I'm going to run. Big thanks out to Derail. I appreciate you, brother. You're a hell of a good guy. You operate honestly. You answer the phone. You take care of your customers in the manner and time that you can. Derail's a lot like me. He's got everybody and their brother trying to get into his shop. Everybody and his brother trying to get into his shop. He's pretty hard to get on the phone, but then again, when you're sitting over there honestly working in a brick and mortar building that you're not, got stuck in your backyard or out of an RV or something, you got to stay busy to support that overhead. And he is in there working his ass off, him and his brother. His brother, the super genius. Gentlemen, I'm going to run. I just wanted to show this off, showcase this a little bit for my good friend, D-Rail. D-Win, I appreciate you too, brother. You gentlemen be good. And a big thanks to all of you guys for tuning in and check this out. If you haven't already, please take a minute and subscribe. There's fun content like this coming out almost on a daily basis. You got a question or a problem with your amplifier, don't hesitate to give me a ring at this number. I'll see you guys. Have a great day. Bump, bump. Hello. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Hello. 1 2 1 2. Hello, audio. Hello. 1 2 1 2. That's the peak power all the way up. That's your average power all the way up. No doubts about it. Hello, come in. That's 1 watt of carrier. And there's 10 watts of carrier. Audio. Almost no discernible with your ear audible tone difference. Hello, 1 2. Hello, 1 2. All the way back down. Let's see if the talkback in the radio is working. It is. Hello, 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Got down. Fixed it. What are the odds, right?